Hey guys, welcome back to P&W Guitar. My name is Mason, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about PRS guitars. They are a brand that is mired with controversy for whatever reason. Some people think that they are just guitars for lawyers and doctors. Some people think that they are soulless monsters of guitars that have no personality and nothing special about them whatsoever. Some people think they're overpriced. Some people think they're incredible. I happen to be one of those people, but I'm going to try to not be biased about this and offer my opinion on this topic because I feel like these guitars in particular are some that are so constantly being talked about, and I don't really understand what the reason is for... bonus points for the dog. I don't really understand what the reason is for all of the controversy. So the first thing I'm going to address is the fact that people think that these are only guitars for doctors and lawyers. Yes, they are expensive. The one that I have here is a PRS CE. It's one of the bolt-on neck ones. It's kind of the entry point into their American production. So I have American pickups on this. I have an imported bridge from the Korean line. I've got, I believe it's also the import tuners, if I remember correctly. But they still are locking tuners. They're still awesome. I think these were actually used on some of the previous American models. Regardless, they work fantastically, they keep the guitar in tune, and this is my main recording and touring guitar. I play this all of the time. Every live show I've played with my band I've played on this guitar, all of the recordings we've done have been done on this guitar, and just because it's so unbelievably consistent. And I think that might be part of the problem with PRS guitars, that some people who are more used to playing like Gibsons and Fenders and some of the more vintage instruments or things that you have to sort through and find the really good ones, PRS guitars are just super consistent. I've played at least 3 or 4 of this exact model, and they were essentially all the same. And that is something that some people just can't seem to handle. It's the fact that when you are looking for a really good Gibson Les Paul, you're probably going to be going around and playing tons of them, as many as you can. Every single one in your city, in your area, you're going to go to every store, you're going to pick up every single one, and they're not going to feel the same. They're going to feel different. They're going to be different weights, they're going to sound different, and that is something to do with the production and the quality control at Gibson. And some people think that that gives them some kind of a magical trait, like when you find one that is particularly good, that it's just this incredible instrument and it's something you're going to want to hold on to forever, and it makes you feel like you have something incredibly special. And I completely understand that because I've been through that before myself, playing Gibson instruments and playing under brands of guitars. Where I think that the PRS gets a lot of flack is because when people pick these up, every one of them across the line, whether you're playing one of the SE import models, you're playing the S2s, you're playing the CEs with bolt-ons, the cores, maybe even up to the Wood Library and the 10 tops, I'm not sure, I haven't played any of those myself, but they feel and they sound so similar that people seem to think that they have no personality, and I think that's why they get all this flack about not having like a real character. Another part of that seems to be the pickups. Gibsons and Fenders and a lot of other brands, they have varying pickups that they use, and PRS are no different. They use different pickups in a lot of their guitars. But what I do find is that they tend to be very clear, and some might even say bell-like or chime-like. They have a lot of top-end clarity, which is a big part of the reason that I like them. They also have a really amazing push-pull system in these that actually sounds very close to a single-coil pickup, which not a lot of other brands are able to do. Now, if you're someone who's into vintage Fenders or Gibsons or just those brands in general, if you're into vintage spec instruments, you're probably not going to want these push-pulls in those guitars anyways. But for somebody like me that plays only one guitar live and recording, I prefer to just use one if I can get away with it, unless I really have a specific situation where I don't want to do that. This gets the humbucker tones fantastically well, and it also gets, with this push-pull, some really awesome stratty sounds. And I was primarily a Strat player before I got this guitar, so that was a really big deal to me to be able to get like that Strat neck tone. The middle tone of the humbuckers in between for clean sounds is absolutely incredible. The bridge pickup is like a roaring, searing lead tone that I can get on it. It's got a whole lot of mids, but like I said, it always retains that top end clarity. What I do notice about Gibsons a lot of the time, and even Epiphones and guitars that are modeled after those, are that they tend to have a lot more bass end presence, and I feel like maybe that's what people are looking for, especially people who play guitar by themselves and not in a band situation. Because when you're playing by yourself, when you have more bass, it feels like there's more balls to the sound. It feels almost like you have a bass player with you. when you have a lot of top-end clarity in the instrument that you're playing, but you're not playing with other people, it sounds kind of thin and brittle. But this is exactly what you want when you're trying to cut through a mix and trying to cut through a live band situation when you want to be heard. So I think that is probably another one of the reasons that PRS gets a lot of criticism. The other one I mentioned before was the fact that people think that these are just guitars for rich people. I am not a rich person by any means. I work 9 to 5 just like everybody else, and I had to take a lot of time and a lot of care and effort to get this guitar, and also max out some credit cards and take some time to pay them off. So I'm not proud of that fact, and I don't think running a credit card debt is a good idea, but when you're a musician, you're generally not making a lot of money, and when you want a decent instrument, sometimes you just have to pull the trigger on something and, do what you have to do to get it. I financed this and paid it off on a payment plan. Not something that's always an option for somebody, but I do understand when people say that these are expensive instruments. This guitar, at the time that I got it, was about $2,500 Canadian. Now they've gone up about $3,600 Canadian, which is unbelievably expensive for a guitar, and I can understand why people would look at these and just say, oh, okay, well, you just bought this guitar because you're some rich person who just wants to have the fanciest looking instrument out there. Yes, the look of this was a part of the reason that I purchased it. I think it's beautiful. I love the burst. I love the blue. I love the way that the pickups look. Some people don't like the pickup covers or the mounting rings. I still think it looks good. I just, the birds, that's something that some people don't like. It's whatever, but this was my dream instrument up until the point I got it, and it's been my number one for quite some time now, for at least a few years. And it wasn't because it was expensive. It's because I played one in a store, and I got some of the coolest sounds I'd ever gotten. It was so versatile. It was able to do so much. It stayed in tune, and it was really the quality of the guitar that was the reason that I wanted to spend the money on this. Now, you don't have to spend $2,500 to $3,600 Canadian to get a really awesome guitar that stays in tune. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of brands out there now that have wonderful quality instruments. That includes Yamaha, that includes Schecter, Charvel, there are the Harley Bentons. There's a lot of brands out there that give you a lot of bang for your buck, including some features that even this guitar doesn't have, something like stainless steel frets, for instance, something like Fishman Fluence pickups, if that's something that you're into. So you've got a lot of options, but I don't feel that the criticism that these guitars are incredibly expensive and that's only for rich people who can afford them is fair, because I see a lot of people out there gigging with these instruments from every single one of their lines. I've seen tons of people playing the SE line, which I've played myself, and they are fantastic. And like I said, with the quality and the consistency of the way that PRS does their instruments, even the SEs sound and feel very similar to these. It actually kind of makes you feel like if you have one of the more expensive ones that you might not have had to spend that much money, which in my opinion is actually a bonus. I've seen people playing the S2s, which are American-made guitars again, that have cheaper components. Like this one has the American pickups. I think the S2s might have the Korean-made pickups. That's just, a slight downgrade, but even those pickups sound fantastic, and they sound very similar to these. These are the 8515s, I believe. This, like I said, is a bridge from their Korean-made SE models, and it stays in tune wonderfully well and feels fantastic. I've never felt the need to upgrade it, even though I could if I wanted to. And outside of that, I've seen people gigging with every range of guitars, and if anything else, actually, the really expensive PRS guitars, I probably see less of those out and around than any other brand, to be honest. And I think the reason for that is because they're so expensive. They're basically like functional art pieces and collector's pieces. But the same thing could be said for Gibsons. Same thing could be said for Fenders. If you have a Masterworks, if you have some really high-end custom shop Gibson, they're going to be running into the same kind of price range. So I think the criticisms of PRS can be pretty intense, and it is a divisive instrument. Even the Silver Sky that came out a few years ago that John Mayer worked on, it looks just like a Strat, feels and sounds very much like a vintage Strat, so I can understand why people are a little bit critical of PRS guitars, but I also think that a lot of the people that have these high criticisms of them are people who may not have actually taken the time to try them out for themselves. And I think if you took the time to try this guitar, you'd probably feel like it was a lot better than you thought it was. And on the alternative hand, if you are a person who's tried a PRS guitar and you just don't vibe with it because it's just not your thing, I totally understand that too. I've played Gibsons and I love them. I didn't love the fact that the tuning stability wasn't there, and that was a big part of the reason that I went for something like this. I also really prefer a double cut. I know a lot of the Gibson stuff, they do have SGs and stuff. Those are neck heavy. They do have the Les Pauls. I like having the upper fret access, and they tend to not have a lot of the more modern features that this guitar came with. As you can see here, the neck the way that it joins to the body, it's almost all the way up to the 24th fret, and then the way that they've designed the cutaway here, it really allows your hand to get all the way up here comfortably. I do like to play the full range of my guitars, which is part of the reason that I liked having a 24th fret as well. Like I said, there was a lot of reasons why I chose this. There might be a lot of reasons why you wouldn't, but are these just guitars for rich people who don't know how to play? I don't think so. And I think the fact that people think that they don't have a vibe are frankly incorrect. I think the fact that these are so consistent and they are so consistent across their line from price range of anything from $600 all the way up to $5,000 or $6,000, I think that just really speaks to the fact that that company, PRS, really wants to do a good job, put out a consistent instrument, and put out something that people from any price range can play live, record with, feel confident in, and do a really wonderful job, and look stylish while doing it. So that's my opinion on the PRS. You guys let me know what you guys think about them. Have you tried these guitars before? Have you tried this model or another one? What did you think of it? Do you feel like my points were valid? Do you have any counterpoints to offer? I'm really curious what your guys' opinions are on these. Other than that, my name has been Mason. This is P&W Guitar. Hit comment, like, and subscribe if you'd like to. I'm going to be giving away a Wampler Tumnus Deluxe pedal that's right up on my shelf here. If you can see it, when I hit 500 subscribers, that's my current goal. So if you guys would like to support the channel, I'd be much appreciated. Until next time, my name is Mason. This is P&W Guitar. You have an awesome weekend. Bye!